What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another highly combustible reaction. We're jumping into the next one on our Sabaton history journey. Inmate 4859, Witold Pilecki. Let's go. See what we got. If you enjoy it, definitely get over to show Sabaton history, all of the love in the world. We will be following it up with the actual Sabaton, a song for the same title. Shout out to Martine for taking us on the journey. Let's go. Learn something every day. Let's go.
The story of Witold Pilecki is one of the great 20th century stories of bravery and sacrifice.
And our song Inmate 4859 is about the brave man, Witold Pilecki.
The story of Witold Pilecki is as tragic as it is heroic, and it is one for the ages. He was born in the Russian Empire near the Finnish border in 1901, spent his youth as part of the nationalistic Polish Pathfinders, and fought in independent Poland's new army against the Soviets in the Polish-Soviet War. He lived a peaceful life for much of the interwar years, but eventually returned to the Army Reserve, and in 1939 was mobilized against the German invasion. Pilecki's Ulan regiment was shattered by the advancing Wehrmacht, but he joined other Polish stragglers and kept fighting until the fall of Warsaw. In late October, he disappeared into the underground, where he joined the resistance movement of the Tajna Armia Polska, an arm of the Armia Krajowa, the Polish Home Army. Now, one of their tasks was to get inside knowledge about German prisoner of war camps, and one camp in particular, in the small town of Auschwitz in German, where many Poles simply disappeared. It was suspected that they were sent to Germany as forced labor, but no one knew for sure. Pilecki came up with a dangerous plan. He would personally infiltrate Auschwitz, uncover the truth, and organize resistance in the camp. On September 19th, 1940, using the alias Tomasz Serafiński, he intentionally walked into a German security sweep on the streets of Warsaw.
How hard do you gotta be? That's a different kind of going undercover. And he had no idea what he was getting himself into, I'm sure.
SS men seized him, and the next day he was herded alongside other Poles into trucks at the Warsaw train station.
Jesus.
All day they drove east. The men pressed together without food or water. Now, the rest of this story is told directly from the source material, from Pilecki's personal report about his experiences in the camp. It is not pretty. Arriving at the camp, Pilecki and the crowd of men were driven forward by brutal beatings from the guards. Some men were pulled out of the group at random, unprovoked, and shot in the head to break any thoughts of resistance. Accompanied by the laughter of the guards, they were then pushed on past the barbed wire and towards the parade ground, where a group of men in striped clothes was waiting for them. These men jumped the newcomers with fists and clubs. Some were actually beaten to death. The men in the striped clothes then asked them questions about their backgrounds and their jobs. And those who said academics or doctors were knocked to the ground. With boots kicking against their heads, their murderers proclaimed that this is the concentration camp Auschwitz, my good man.
I do love that Sabaton history ain't out here sugarcoating none of it for you either. It's horror. That's what this is. Every time I look at World War II, it's horror. It's just as incredibly inhumane and as humans ever could potentially be.
His head shaved, Pilecki hurried out of the bathhouse, though a guardsman knocked out 2 of his front teeth because he did not hold the sign with his prison number between them. From now on, Pilecki was neither himself nor Tomasz, but a number, prisoner 4859. In his paper-thin, blue and white striped uniform and a pair of ill-fitting wooden shoes, he found himself once again on the parade ground. There, he encountered the murderous men again. They were called kapos, prisoner functionaries. Often German or Polish criminals, they were tasked with, let's say, keeping things in line inside the camp, since the regular SS men lived in barracks outside, right? Most of the capos were violent sadists who enjoyed brutally beating and torturing the helpless prisoners. Wearing yellow armbands with the capo label, they also oversaw the labor companies, to one of which Pilecki was assigned. In that labor company, it became clear that Auschwitz aimed to first exterminate the Polish intelligentsia. Prisoners with academic backgrounds who were not used to demanding physical work or who lacked the experience or the dexterity to work in the quarries were mercilessly beaten to death by the capos. Being too exhausted to lift another brick or to push a wheelbarrow was also a death sentence. Every evening, fewer people returned to the main camp. Every walk to the latrines, every trip to the bathhouse was accompanied by beatings and harassment. Those who came late to morning parade or tried to hide away were hunted down, dragged to the parade ground, and either hanged or shot in front of the others. Many tried to kill themselves, usually early in the morning before the day of torture began. If anyone tried to escape, the whole block was punished for it, standing out in the open for hours or doing punishment sports where men too exhausted to lift their arms fell down and died under the boots of the capos. Often, the only time to catch your breath was when they were busy murdering another prisoner. Pilecki's good physical condition saved him from this fate, but for how long?
It really, really boggles my mind how people can just turn so raw and savage. Just so dead inside. It's not even like it's a survival thing anymore at this point.
How long could that last? Well, Pilecki set out to build his first resistance cell, a group of 5 men. Later, he would create other 5er groups, but none of them knew of the existence of the others. So in case they were captured and tortured, they could not betray the whole network, right? Those groups would either organize food or clothing or would help other members to get a job, since it was clear from day one that staying in the worker groups, the labor groups, even well-conditioned men like Pilecki would soon die. So many of those worker prisoners did in fact die that the prisoners had to build the first camp crematorium. Pilecki noted that the camp became one big mill which ground living people to ash. In 1941, as more and more prisoners were brought in, the camp grew. Larger fences were needed, more barbed wire and more guard towers. And as Auschwitz grew, it needed to feed itself. And this opened up jobs for the older prisoners. With careful planning, Pilecki got his 5er groups into the carpenters, the postal service, and the barbers. He eventually got himself a job as a repairman for an oven inside an SS man's house outside the camp. Upon leaving the living hell of Auschwitz, he returned to a world of lavish gardens, laughing children at play, and villagers having normal everyday conversations with one another. Pilecki felt the questions burning inside him. What was the real world? What was the real nature of man? What was the culture of the 20th century? Since mankind had advanced
a lot of things after having gone through and seen what he saw was going on. We haven't even got to the worst part of
so
it yet,
far from the barbarism of old. How is this still possible? Or was this the true face of humanity? Would the whole world look like this if the boundaries of civilization disappeared?
Would it? Would we all just turn into just savages that don't care at all for one another? Like, I hate to think that that's the way that it would go. But
each morning, he and the other prisoners found themselves surprised to be alive. Their bodies thin to the bone, black and blue from the daily beatings, riddled with lice and fleas, living on a starvation diet. Only his daily mantra, "You're not giving up," helped Pilecki keep on and try to inspire others to do the same. Survival was only possible through friendship and mutual help. Loners died quick. Now, Up until May 1941, it was possible for ordinary Poles to be released from Auschwitz, mostly by their families paying enormous sums to the Germans. Those released prisoners smuggled Pilecki's notes to the Armia Krajowa, but when the war between Germany and the Soviet Union began, this stopped. Instead, new groups began arriving to the camp. Many were now Jews, and by the end of August, the first Soviet prisoners were transported to Auschwitz. Pilecki reports that one day, 700 officers were tightly packed into a room all day, till finally a group of German soldiers with gas masks on threw gas containers inside. This was the first act of gassing people with hydrogen cyanide at Auschwitz, according to Pilecki. Soon after, though, on his way to work, he passed groups of naked Soviet prisoners waiting to be led into the crematorium where they were gassed and burned. The capos were often brutal savages, but the bestiality of some of the SS guards was even worse. Pilecki tells of guard dogs trained to go for the throats of prisoners, the torture of smashing testicles with a hammer, and many stories far too nightmarish to tell here. Now with his cells set up in important positions all over the camp, Pilecki was ready to start a revolt, but he needed help from the outside to be successful. The prisoners were thirsty for revenge, and they were ready for anything since they did not fear death after all they had endured. But even had they managed to overwhelm the guards and take the camp, they would not be able to hold it for long. Pilecki believed that the Armia Krajowa had received at least one of his messages. He had urged them to stage an attack or send in paratroopers from the Free Polish Army over in Britain or drop a crate of arms onto them or something. But so far, nothing. Without help from the outside, Pilecki's third Christmas in Auschwitz came and went. And Auschwitz was now changing. There was no longer collective punishment, no outright murder, or even everyday brutality, or at least it was toned down. See, Auschwitz became a factory which would now systematically murder its prisoners instead of individualistic random killing. Not with the batons of the capos, but with phenol and gas. There were 3 crematoriums working simultaneously, able to burn corpses within minutes. By April 1943, more and more of the surviving Poles were sent out of Auschwitz to make room for Jewish prisoners from all over Europe and the Soviet Union. This meant the end of Pilecki's network, as its members were sent to other camps. So after 2 years and 7 months of surviving in Auschwitz, Pilecki decided it was time to break out, since an uprising was no longer possible. He got a night shift job at a bakery outside the camp. Shortly after Easter, as one guard was asleep, he and 2 other men pushed the door open and ran. Shots cracked out behind them, but they ran all night and all day until they reached a small town. With help from patriotic Poles, Pilecki smuggled himself back to Warsaw, where, on August 23, 1943, after nearly 1,000 days in Auschwitz, he met with commanders of the Armia Krajowa, telling them of his experiences, all the death, all the torture, but people hesitated to believe him. It seemed all too unbelievable, even for the hated Germans to do all this killing. They knew it was bad, but not this bad. Pilecki would stay in the underground.
It is still unbelievable. If you go and listen to the darkest tales, it is unthinkable, unfathomable. A people could do things like that to other people for no reason at all. I don't know. I don't know if it brings out, the war just brings out the true beast in people. Shows you how bad humanity can truly be to one another, or if it's a situational thing where maybe people just lose their minds because of the things that they've seen or done, or once you've done it once, the rest of the time the emotion's gone. I don't know how it works. I don't know the whole psychology behind it all, but like, even this is, it tells you how raw it actually got, but it goes way worse than that. The unthinkable was done.
Underground Army and fight in the Warsaw Uprising of 1944. He was later interned in prisoner of war camps, and after liberation in 1945 was assigned to the Second Corps of the Polish Army in Italy, where he turned in his report about Auschwitz to the British. For Pilecki, Auschwitz was the symbol of the Polish struggle for existence. He himself could never go back to a normal civilian life after experiencing what you've just heard. He maintained contact with the underground resistance, now against the Soviet Union, after the war, and indeed returned to Poland in late 1945 to report on the Soviet occupation. He lived and worked undercover, but on May the 8th, 1947, the Ministry of Public Security captured him. He was tortured and dragged before a kangaroo court and accused of many things, including espionage and planning an armed uprising. The sentence was death. On May 25th, 1948, in the Mokotów prison in Warsaw, Witold Pilecki was executed. His final resting place remains unknown. In 1990, Pilecki and others from that show trial were rehabilitated, and today he is celebrated, and with good reason, as a Polish patriot and a hero. Now, we cannot even imagine what he went through and what courage it must have taken to do so.
I can't imagine a human being willing to do all of that.
Pretty heavy story, you know?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I don't know how many people we researched for the Heroes album, but if there ever was a slam dunk, you know, pardon my language, what the fuck moment, this was it, I would say.
And it is, you know, their sacrifice is one thing, bravery is another thing, but doing all of that, I mean, think of the odds. I mean, getting in and getting out.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Auschwitz on purpose.
And then I'm going to get out on purpose, and doing all that for a cause and for what is essentially, what is a noble and a just cause, any way you slice it.
Yeah. And I mean, I am so surprised also that how isn't there a major Hollywood blockbuster about this?
That makes no sense at all.
Yeah, and people are coming up with, you know, Hollywood scripts. I mean, I'm not bashing the film industry here, don't get me wrong, but I mean, people are making scripts that are less fantastic and not true, and still nobody.
And this is a true story, and it's even the tragic ending and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, maybe that's why they're not doing it.
Well, they could throw in like a romantic interest or something. They got Gwyneth Paltrow, maybe. I don't know.
Romance in Auschwitz, great.
Stranger things.
You know they do that shit.
Things have happened in Hollywood.
Yes, everything.
You know, but that leads you to wonder. I mean, there must have been romantic stories in Auschwitz.
I guess so. I mean, we met a woman called Anna who fought in the Polish resistance.
Okay.
During the uprising.
Yeah.
She actually said that, she was flirting with a guy in the middle of, you know, I mean, not as they were shooting, I guess.
Yeah. But that's not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Exactly. So, I mean, she said it's strange how man, or, you know, you can normalize such a extreme situation and life still goes on. You still go to the toilet, everybody understands that, but you are still actually falling in love while fighting or waging a war, you know? It's weird.
And if this guy could break out, then of course you could break from the men's side to the women's side.
Yeah.
You know, it's nothing. I mean, if there's one thing this all proves is nothing is impossible. Nothing is as impossible as you think. I know, but it is. It's, you know what would, even more than just a Hollywood movie, it'd be a good miniseries.
Yes.
You know,
actually. HBO, do you hear this?
See, if anybody out there's HBO is listening, and Yuki and I will write it. I mean, I'm a writer, and he's good at emotion, so together we could do it.
Yeah, but don't put me in acting in it because I suck as an actor. So.
As we've noticed over these months of Sabaton history, ladies and gentlemen. What about the actual song itself, though? Did you decide on the topic before you wrote the song, or did you have the music sitting around and
wrote the music with Peter, our producer. The first time we wrote a song together. And him, you know, coming from, you know, Lindemann, Pain, Hypocrisy, those bands, and the harder side of things, it became a bit of a harder and very, very dark song. So as we were writing that song, I realized that this is the song, because obviously, even though it's a very, very, you know, we're singing about a very courageous man, it would not have made sense at all to have a, you know, proud, uplifting song for the subject. You know?
Especially, I wonder what he was like as a person, like personality-wise, because you don't. I mean, from the story, you can see, okay, he's got a lot of dedication. But you meet someone on the street, you don't know if they're a dedicated type person or not. No. So it would be really interesting. Well, that's your homework, guys, to go and put the song on and think of Witold Pilecki.
That's all for today. Thank you very much.
See you next time.
All right, everyone, here's the drill. A lot of you have been supporting us through Patreon, and I'd like to thank you all so much for that. It really helps. That's what makes this channel happen. So click on subscribe. You know the drill, basically. And I just wanted to say thank you all. See you soon.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Inmate 4859, Witold Pilecki. Definitely get over and show Sabaton history all the love in the world. Did I just say his name wrong? Witold Pilecki. Yes, no, I think I might have screwed it up the first time. Definitely get over, show Sabaton history, all the love in the world. I definitely appreciate the story. This one really got to me. Because for all of the horrific people that were doing some downright hellish things to other people, there were still people like him that were willing to risk it all for good. That were willing to put even his life on the line to save all of the other people if he could get the word out. To think that you could go into Auschwitz and get back out with the information. In my mind now, looking back on it, obviously everything in hindsight is 2020. That seems, even still today, it seems impossible. I can't imagine ever saying, you know what, I'm going to sign up for that. But you never know. Time dictates, situation dictates. You never know what kind of things people are capable of. Get over, show Sabaton history, the love. We're getting over and we're jumping right into the song right after this. So I'll be right back. And we're back with the Sabaton Inmate 48509 official lyric video, which was what was requested by the requester. Shout out to Martine. I appreciate you for the journey. That was definitely a story. An unbelievable story for unbelievable times. That's what I'll say. I can't, it's hard to fathom that somebody would do all that he did just for the good of humanity, just for other people, just to prove that he was right when everybody was trying to say he was wrong. People didn't believe him. How do you not believe something? It could have all been shut down way, way sooner had people just believed. I don't know. Very, very interesting story. Let's go. Check out the actual song behind it.
Locked in a cell with
I'm so glad that we do the histories first because it makes it so much more moving when you hear the song. It's the effort that we know he went through. And it all ended tragically, like.
Locked in a cell, waging war from the prison, hiding in Auschwitz, who hides behind 4859.
That really should be a movie. That really should be. Absolutely huge. We most certainly know his name now. Even if we maybe didn't know it before, we know it now. Get over, show Sabaton all the love of the world, keeping the stories alive that we need to hear, even if there's hard ones to hear. That Sabaton history was a brutal one to make it through. It definitely got to me. There are people like that out there that you never know what they're capable of until some pressure is applied, but beware. Never underestimate any of them. Smash the like button if you liked it, the dislike button, but I won't believe you. Till the next one, I'm Combustible. You guys be happy, healthy, safe. I love you to the moon and back. Peace.